Hello on the Rockers. On this episode, we go into the woods with Tony and Olivier award winner Gavin Creel and Broadway PR and editorial guru Josh Ferri with me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass, let the drinks begin. It's On the Rocks, Into the Woods.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Hello, 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 buns and bows and pantyhose, On the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. If anybody cares about the major news that we should be paying attention to, Tom Brady, Kim K, dating. What is going on? The apocalypse is upon us. I thought it was fake news. It is not. Anyway, come join On the Rocks on stage as I'm your MC for the Glam Drag Show at Orange County County Fair at the fair, Sunday, July 30th at the OC Fairgrounds, the Hangar Stage. Go to outatthefair.com. As a reminder, drag is not a crime, but me in drag is. I won't be in drag. I'll just be the MC. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On the Rocks on Air and on Facebook, On the Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a pride, funeral, quinceanera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. The show's presented by Straw Hat Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 300 episodes at ontherocksradioshow.com. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, on the Outlet.tv app, Facebook Watch, streaming with Pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast for some strange reason. Lucky East Coast. All right, let's get the show on the road. My co-host today, no stranger to Broadway or happy hour, Josh Ferri, worked in the Broadway community for 12 years before moving to California. He began his career as a press agent for musicals like Spring Awakening and Xanadu, as well as the Public Theater. He then joined the team at Broadway.com before launching editorial content for Broadway Box, where he served as editor for 6+ years, creating the popular and viral YouTube series Dancing Through My Resume, Broadway Bucket List, and 20 Questions in 20 Minutes. Please welcome Josh Ferri. Hello, Josh.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I saw so many great pictures. Pictures with you and Cara Burnett. Pictures with Ellen Green. Where is Ellen Green? Do we need to send out a search party?
I don't know, but I'm so happy. Meeting her was one of those dream scenarios, and it was the screening of Little Shop of Horrors at Lincoln Center.
Oh, where she wore her original dress?
And just Howard Ashman, not Howard Ashman, Alan Menken playing.
Broadway.com.
Wrong part. But she, at the end of it, at the after party, told us her vision for the Little Shop of Horrors sequel. Someone should produce it.
I need to hear the tea about that. Well, we're going to head to the Abbey after this, so we'll have some cocktails. Okay, we're going to talk about All Into the Woods. We're going to talk about all of Gavin Creel's career, which I know you're a huge fan of his, as am I, and there's a lot to talk about. This kid has done a lot. But I want to know, what was your first time seeing Into the Woods?
My first time seeing Into the Woods was in high school. I was dating another theater kid who was a little more highbrow than I was, and I didn't know any of the Sondheim shows, and he had them all on DVD, and he was like, all right, you're going to come over, we're going to do the DVD of Sweeney Todd, the DVD of Follies, and the DVD of Into the Woods.
That's a good first boyfriend to have.
He was my third, but yes, he was
Jesus
a great one.
Christ. My first was when I was 40 years old. It went really well.
So yes, I was obsessed with that DVD, and then I started to look up, because back in the day, in the newspaper, they would have all the community theater productions that were happening around your area. So I would like scan and find it Into the Woods and go see it. And then I've probably seen now like 4 or 5 professional productions in New York and abroad, including this one.
Including the Broadway version now at the Amundsen. I counted yesterday because I got to see it last night at the Amundsen, and I counted between friends doing Into the Woods. I've seen the production now 21 times. Wow. Well, and I was in the show. My boyfriend played, this was years ago, so don't look at my physique. COVID. I was the wolf, Cinderella's prince, and my ex, he was my boyfriend at the time, was Rapunzel's prince. So our friends opening night came, and when we sang Agony, they sang Sodomy. It was really a moment for that. Anyway, we're going to talk all about everything. Let's bring on the man of the hour. Gavin Creel received a Tony Award for his performance as Cornelius Hackle in Hello, Dolly, starring, of course, the Miss M, Bette Midler. After making his Broadway debut, originating the role of Jimmy Smith in Thoroughly Modern Millie, for which he received his first Tony Award nomination, by the way, he went on to star in the Broadway production of Hair. Oh, did I mention another Tony Award nomination? La Cage aux Folles, She Loves Me, The Book of Mormon, and Waitress. He was among the star-studded cast of New York City Encore's critically acclaimed production of Into the Woods. Of course, we know as The Wolf Cinderella's Prince. They celebrated the production, transferred to Broadway, and is now touring and running at the Almonds in Los Angeles until July 30th. Please run, do not walk. I went on a weeknight. There was maybe 3 seats empty. You really need to get your tickets before, because I don't think they're going to be able to extend. Gavin received an Olivier Award for his portrayal of Elder Price in the London production of The Book of Mormon. Also appeared on the West End in Mary Poppins, Hair, and Waitress. And on TV, he recently performed a solo PBS concert special with stars on stage. Starred as Troy in Ryan Murphy's anthology series, American Horror Stories. How excited were we when we got to see Gavin in the American Horror Story franchise? Maybe he's in a new season, I hope. He played Bill alongside Julie Andrews at Eloise at the Plaza and Eloise at Christmas Time. And as a songwriter, he wrote an original musical piece that we're going to talk about called Walk On Through, based on the collections at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. What does that mean? We are going to find out. He has also released 3 original albums. I've been waiting and waiting for a follow-up. Good Time Nation, Quiet, which landed on Billboard's top, Heat Seekers, Get Out, and his single Noise, which raised money and awareness for marriage equality. He was a co-founder of Broadway Impact, the first and only grassroots organization to mobilize the nationwide theater community in support of marriage equality. In addition to Into the Woods, Southern California audiences can catch Gavin's solo show at the Hotel Cafe on July 24th at 7 p.m. Go to hotelcafe.com to get your tickets, and you need to get those tickets. It's an intimate space. If you've ever wanted to get intimate with Gavin, and I know many people have wanted to get intimate with Gavin, this is the perfect opportunity. Let's take a really quick peek at Gavin and Into the Woods before we start chatting. Tony, take it away.
Am I not sensitive, clever, well-mannered, considerate, passionate, charming, as kind as I'm handsome, an heir to a throne?
You are everything maidens could wish for.
Then why no?
Do I know?
The girl must be mad.
You know nothing of madness till you're climbing her hair, and you see her up there as you're nearing her, all the while hearing her agony,
Misery, although it's different for each. Always 10 steps behind,
always 10 feet below,
and she's just out of reach. Agony that can cut like a knife.
If you want to hear that final beautiful note that the two go, you need to get your ticket. I'm not going to give that away for free. Please welcome Gavin Creel.
Hi, everybody.
I love the blonde, by the way. I'm like, do I need to go blonde?
I'm going to take my hat off and just let it fly.
Yes, just let that. Rapunzel, let down your long hair. Okay, before we start talking about your career, because there's so much that we need to cover, we need to talk about this production of Into the Woods. As we mentioned, Into the Woods is performed all over the world, all over the nation, either by high schools, colleges, regional theaters, community theaters, at every time. Why the need for this production? What is it about this production that makes it different, and that we have to go see it? Because everybody has to go see it, and everybody is going to see it. And I want your perspective too, from your Broadway, point of view. But Gavin, being your perspective as an actor, but also your perspective as a musical theater lover, why do we need this production?
I just have to start by saying it's great to be here with both of you. I'm so excited to be on the show, and that intro and alone with all those people on it, I just was like, oh, this is so exciting. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
We are honored, believe me.
Yeah. The short answer, I think, is I think Sondheim's passing, this was planned before we lost him, but I think his passing has sort of blessed this show and this production in a really beautiful, spiritual way. But I also think that we've just been through the worst time in the last 100 years for humankind. It sounds dramatic to say, but it's the truth. And it's still around us, but thank goodness we're coming to the other side of it. I just feel like this show has been able to lift people out of that. It was the first professional production on Broadway since Sondheim's passing that happened last year. This show has been able to, what was supposed to be just a city center production, extend onto Broadway for the 2 months and then extend for 6. And then we had to move because New York was coming in. Yeah. And we didn't want it to end. So we just our producers brilliantly decided to take it around to 10 cities around the country, and we're finishing here in LA. And it's weird because I'm giving you a gobbledygook answer to something that I can't really explain. But the reaction in the theater every night is bonkers. You'd think we were like topless. It's insane. People screaming, and it's nuts.
Well, those pants are a little tight, so maybe that's that's what the screaming is. And I will tell you, as an LA native, I have been going to the Amundsen Theater since I was 8 years old. And I was telling you this, Gavin, before the show. The audience last night was the loudest and most appreciative audience in the history of me going to the Amundsen. And I don't mean just the cheering and the ovations and the standing ovations. I mean the quiet moments too, where everybody was emotionally involved. And, I had not thought about it from the perspective of Sondheim's death. It's like coming home. It's like having a memorial for him.
And it's the show that, as we said, most people are doing in their high schools and their community. No, people aren't doing Follies and Passion in high school. Like, it's the show. If they're doing a Sondheim show, they're doing Into the Woods, and they know it, and they have a connection. I imagine you must get all the time from fans, like, I did this, and this is what my connection to Into the Woods is.
What was the original 1987? Is that correct?
I thought it was 1986, and I will tell you
the year of Phantom. Was it 84? Because Phantom beat Into the Woods.
But it started at La Jolla Playhouse. Yeah. That's when they had the Three Little Pigs, and they had Sleeping Beauty and Snow White on stage. That was
So what really I think we forget, because Sondheim was so inventive at the time, and it is still so fresh in all of our hearts and minds, is that's 40 years. So when I was in high school, Carousel was 40 years prior. Do you know what I mean? Like the birth of musical theater, in a lot of sense, were around those time. Music Man, like West Side Story was being born 40 years prior, and now it's, when I was in high school, West Side Story's done often and everywhere. Now we're 40 years later. It's just been 40 years that the show has been in people's vernacular, in their minds, and the movie that was made that I think, did Rob Marshall direct that movie?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Yeah, Rob Marshall, Mark Platt produced it, and Disney. That's another way people have access to it that might not be able to go to the theater, or might even be interested in the theater, but they love Anna Kendrick or Chris Pine or whoever's Emily Blunt, who's my favorite actress breathing air. So I just think we forget how long we've been living with it, and I think
when you put it that way.
Once upon a time, and they cheer, and you're like, oh, they're not cheering just because they're excited to be at the theater. They're like, this is mine.
Yeah.
I'm coming home to something that I've lived with for a very long time.
So what was it about this production that you wanted to live with this for so long? Because back in the day, like Ethel Merman, Carol Channing, they'd open the show in New York, they toured around the country. Now, unheard of. The Tony winners, like...
Because you're a busy guy, Gavin.
It's a stacked cast of nominees and winners, and they're traveling the country, and this doesn't happen especially an ensemble show. Like, how did this all come to happen?
Can I tell you the honest truth?
Please.
There's two big things. One is these people that I'm on stage with: Stephanie Seb, Montego, Katie, Jim, Felicia. Like, I could go on and on. Alicia, Cole. We are all. Diane, we're all on stage together, and we weren't ready to be done with each other. So that was the first step. But the other thing truly was, this is my own personal thing. We'll talk about it later, but I have written this show called Walk On Through, and I knew the chances of me getting a production up in the next 6 months was slim. And I thought, A, I'm not ready to be done with the show. B, I love the people I'm working with. And C, I could be employed and getting health insurance for 6 months. and then hopefully when the show's over, I could have a production. And thank the Lord, we are going to have a production in the fall at MCC. So we can talk about that later.
I love it. And we're definitely going to talk about it because I want to know all about it and the concept behind it. And you as a songwriter, which is a whole different aspect of you. And the chemistry that we see in Into the Woods with this production is palpable. Like, you can just tell the joy and the closeness. And it's not just in the comedy, because this production has found comedic beats where I didn't even know that they were after seeing the show for so many times. some of the phrasing in the singing, in the comedy parts and in the emotional parts, there's new phrasing in this production. We were talking about this.
Have you ever seen a funnier moment in the woods than when Stephanie does it? No, she's finding things in there that you've never seen or heard before.
But the end of that song, it turns into her emotional kind of breakdown, and that she's ready to return to her married life, and it's so sad. And then, of course, we know what happens. The show also deals a lot with grief. And a lot of us have experienced grief through COVID, whether it's losing our jobs, our LGBTQ youth getting kicked out of their homes, people dying from COVID. There's just been a lot of loss lately. Losing of our rights.
Into the Woods, the government, the royal family, when everything hits the fan, they step back and they say, we can't help you. And it's similar. Yep. We all lived through this crazy time where the government for a little bit was like, well,
100%.
We'll see you later.
100%. Before we dive into your personal career, you were talking about Sondheim, and I want to talk about your relationship with Sondheim. When you first started doing professional regional, a funny thing happened on the way to Forum. You did a couple of times. You got to work on Bounce, which is now called Roadshow, and now, of course, Into the Woods. How much did you get to work with Sondheim on Bounce?
We started at the Goodman Theater in Chicago, and then we transferred in the fall to the Kennedy Center. So he was present for most of it. He was living in New York, and he would fly in on the weekends when we do run-throughs and when we were in the rehearsal room. But then he was there all tech, and he was there for the beginning of the run and would come back. He was there at the end, and then he was in D.C., and we were walking back and forth to the Watergate Hotel together.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was really insane. To be 27 years old, and I've just done my first Broadway show, The Early Modern Millie, and then to get to do a live stream. I said, I want to play the lead in a new Sondheim show was my goal when I left college.
Jesus.
The head of our program was like, you got to go to New York and have like, if an agent or somebody asks you, what do you want to do with your career? My answer was always, I want to be the lead in a new Sondheim show.
Jesus.
And to have it happen so quickly was extremely humbling and terrifying, and also informative, because I was watching the people who were making musical theater 40 years prior in those rooms, making musical theater in the rooms. It was Hal Prince. It was Stephen Sondheim.
You're talking about legends.
The people. I'm in the room with them. And Paul Gemignani was in my audition, and then David Caddick took over as the music director. I was just like, here they are. And as you know, with that show, it was flawed. It is flawed. It's still trying to find its way in a lot of ways. But like, it was cool. It was humbling to go, oh, they don't have all the answers. And it's a little scary because you think, oh, Grandpa knows everything. And then you get there and they're like, Grandpa's on the floor going, I don't know how to make this moment work. And you're like, no, Sondheim, you have to know. Hal Prince, you have to know, because if you don't know, there is no structure to the world that we're in. And then I realized very quickly, they're just artists trying to figure it out.
Did that give you a sense of freedom as you now are a creator of new musicals and works to be
Great question.
In my 20s, I watched the biggest legends that this industry has to offer grapple with a show like I can.
Yes,
too.
Josh. I don't think I've said it as beautifully and succinctly as that, so thank you.
That was pretty good. Tony, clip it. Clip.
Yes, I just... It's good to remind myself as I continue to evolve, walk on through, and work on this next iteration. And then inevitably there'll be people with notes and thoughts and collaborators and people, giving me their opinions about what does and doesn't work. And I also just watch them hold firm to things that maybe I even didn't think worked. But I was like, he's the writer, that's the director. They want to try this version out. It's my job as the actor to honor it and do the best I can to realize it for them. And it was amazing. I remember, I've told these stories before, but I have to share it here, Chicago had come out not too long before, and it was like, oh my gosh, the movie musical is going to come back. And Sondheim and I were walking back from the show one night to the Watergate, to the bar where we were all going to hang out. And he was like, Chicago's an exception. Movie musicals don't work. They won't work now. Wow. People are too attention spans, and people are too, sophisticated in the wrong ways. I don't know what his exact words were, but he said they've been trying to make Sweeney Todd into a movie for years, and it won't work.
Kind of right.
And
Wow.
then I got an email from him when I was doing Mary Poppins in London, and Sweeney Todd came out, and he was like, "Do you want to come to the premiere?"
Did you?
Yeah, he wrote me. It's in some notes somewhere.
I'm saying, did you go?
No, I couldn't go because we had a show.
Oh my girl, I would quit life at that point. How weird is it? It's like, who else gets to say, "Oh, I got an email from Stephen Sondheim." So,
many people. I have to tell you, he was unbelievable about writing everybody back. He would write people. He was
amazing.
remarkable at writing, especially young students, people who would be questions. I remember somehow in college, I was studying in London for a semester, and somebody got me his address. I don't know how I got it, but I got his home address, which is
it's from a younger boy who might have gone to his house a few times. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. But I got the address, and I wrote him a postcard from London. And all it said was, "You don't know me. I hope someday you will. I just want to tell you, please keep writing. You're a gift to the American theater."
That's
and
beautiful.
that was it. And I never heard from him because I didn't leave. I didn't leave anything. And somehow I'd like to think that he knew, I eventually met him. I don't even think I told him that because I was too embarrassed, but
I'm obsessed with the little moments in life because I believe it's the little moments that make the bigger moments special. Do you remember the first few things you said to Sondheim? Like if Sondheim were to walk into a room, I would start hyperventilating and sweating. Like, what do you say to this musical genius? What's your first comments to him going to be? Do you even remember?
Nice to meet you. It's an honor.
It's a lot of memories blend together as time goes on, but I feel like every time that I had the opportunity to be in a small situation with Sondheim or Lloyd Webber, I was like, this is so monumental. Like, be present. Like, very Frank and Merrily. Like, savor this moment.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to happen again.
If I was in the same room with Andrew Lloyd Webber, I'd be like, what happened? Anyway. Gavin.
Be nice.
Never am. Gavin, you played roles that have been played many, many times before. Of course, Hair, Hello Dolly, La Cage, now Into the Woods. I want to know what your creative process when approaching these well-known characters, and you certainly make the character your own, you still play homage to what an audience expects from the character. I don't know what your creative process is. Like when you first was like, okay, I'm going to do Into the Woods and I'm going to highlight my lines and I know the music, but I need to learn the music now because I'm performing it. The creative process.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. We've all listened to. We think we know the music, and I was like, oh, that's the melody. Oops.
Oh, and I do have to say,
that.
for every Stephen Sondheim devotee that goes through the score, and it's like, you missed that. This musical, you definitely hear the notes the way that they're supposed to be sang.
Rob Berman. That's all Rob Berman. And John Bell, our current musical conductor and musical director. But Rob Berman was like, let's get back to the page because that's what Encores is about. It's like, let's sing the notes. And then, of course, you got Heather Headley debuting the Witch at the City Center, and she's going to put her spin on it. And our director and choreographer and team, the creative team, are always interested in what we. Wow, I'm rocking some serious bedhead here, y'all. This is really intense. Sorry, I'm just...
Honey, we're going to sell it. It's like get in bed with Gavin Creel.
Yeah, come on now.
P.S.
I just woke up and did all my morning stuff, and then I was like, oh,
because you performed last night. P.S. Is that a Star Wars poster behind you?
I'm just going to hang out like this for a little while. Yes, I'm at an Airbnb, and this is an original Star Wars.
Oh, I thought it was your poster. I'd be like, girl, marry me. Marry me a little.
No, I wish. It's so cool. Very cool. I'm in an Airbnb in LA, so
nice.
living in a beautiful place.
What's the address? I want to send you a postcard.
Yeah, sure. It's
Yeah. Okay, but back to the creative process, because I'm fascinated as an actor doing a role that people know.
When you go into a revival,
I will tell you, it stresses me out until I give myself permission to treat it as a new show. I try to read it like I've never read it before and actually look in. The freedom. David Patrick Kelly said this thing to me that he plays the mysterious man and what's his the narrator.
Yeah.
And we were in the car together, and he said, "My freedom comes from research. As I do the research and I look into a million different corners of every little thing, then I have an infinite number of possibilities and opportunities to play. And I love to play on stage. I think it's obvious if you see the show. People are like, you look like you're having so much fun. I'm like,
so much fun.
I'm gonna take that as a compliment and not as like, what are you doing up there? But he said research, and I think that's kind of how I treat the new I treat a script of a revival so that I can alleviate myself of the pressure of people expecting. The minute I start thinking about the audience's expectations, I'm sunk. So I really try to look at the role, especially this.
Yeah.
I also knew from the beginning, and Lear was 100% with me, I said there is zero part of Hello Little Girl that can be lascivious or sexual. It cannot be. Not in 2023. I'm not going to play Predator or any of that. I said he's got to be a dandy, foppish, whatever, hungry, as she said. The girl is chicken. You know, in those cartoons where somebody's like, sees somebody and they dream and there's like, they just see their, like,
salt on her arm was to the beat was so brilliant.
That's Lear de Bessonet. It was her idea. We didn't get it in at City Center, but then she said, can we get the salt in for Broadway? And I was like, sure, let's try it.
Honey, I'm Latino. You put seasoning on everything. And you know what's funny? There was a shift of power during that song because Little Red is a little turned on by the wolf. And then the wolf is confused by it because it's like, bitch, I just want to eat you. And she's like, oh, there's this handsome, dapper creature. I love that shift of power, actually.
Yeah.
Where
it happens quite late. It happens quite late in the song.
100%.
And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What? Anyway, I'm hungry. You know,
yeah.
It's so much fun. And the thing is, I didn't think about, I also don't watch anything that someone has done before anytime near when I'm going to do something. And I try not to listen. With this, I had to listen because we knew we were going to have so little time in the rehearsal room for City Center. So I listened to the original recording, just to try to learn what was going on before I got to rehearsal. But yeah, I don't want any interpretations or ideas other than my own and what the creative team is interested in me looking at. And they gave me a lot of room to play. And my co-star at the time, Jordan Donica, and Jason Vorbach, and then Joshua Henry, and on and on.
We love Joshua Henry. He came on the show. He was one of the sweetest.
Every name you just mentioned is top tier sexy Broadway guy.
It's bonkers. It's bonkers. And
you know what's funny?
Jason Vorbach.
You drop their names, they drop your name. I think it's so sweet. There's like this mutual admiration society that doesn't often happen in the entertainment industry, especially, well, we know in LA, nobody wants to support anybody else. This is a very special breed.
I don't want to. I'm sorry. I'm sad for that because people are missing out on an amazing opportunity for camaraderie. I also think that's a great. I'm going to pay us a compliment. That's, I think, one of the biggest reasons why this Into the Woods succeeded as it did, because you had this love. Obviously 6 people above the title who, seeing us all in one show together for even a limited amount of time was kind of like people kept calling us the Avengers of Broadway, like we were all in a show together.
My God, somebody trademark that. Get a t-shirt.
Yeah. It was so cute. But I remember when we lost Heather and Neil and Jordan, because they all had other projects. Everybody was invited to go to the Broadway transfer. We were like, oh no, we found this thing so quickly and so beautifully with these incredible people. And then we find Pip, and we lost Danae Benton also. We got Pippa Sue, Patina Miller, Brian Darcy James, who's the king of all things, and Joshua Henry. And when Joshua Henry signed on, for me, that was the one that I was like, this is nuts. Because Joshua Henry accepting a role like that and being treated so beautifully, and what he brought to the show in such an elevated way, you know, we don't do as much as the others do. And the fact that he was there and we were all together, I just remember thinking, wow, this is a really special moment. Joshua Henry is on stage.
You would think the same about you too, though, because
100%.
Here you are, an Olivier and Tony winner. I'm sure when someone's like, do you want to be Into the Woods? You're like, oh, I'm going to play the baker? How cool. And then you're like...
can I tell him myself, Josh?
No, please.
When Lear called me, I knew Sarah was doing it from before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't wait to see her do this. I'm so proud of her. She's one of my best friends. And then Lear called me, and I will tell anybody, this is the truth. My ego got involved first. I was like, I don't want to play a supporting role. I want to play the baker. And she told me reasonings why she thought, look, I think we're obviously Christian was already cast. Christian Borle was supposed to play. He was one of my heroes in musical theater. And then because of scheduling stuff, he couldn't carry on, and we got Neil, which was like an embarrassment of riches. But my ego got involved for about 20 minutes. And then I hung up with her. I said, just let me sleep on it. And then like 20 minutes later, I was like, no, I'm doing this. There's no chance I'm not doing this. And then I had a panic attack after the first week because I was like, I cannot learn this quickly. This schedule is insane. I still think it's too much. But then stepping out on stage for that first performance and hearing them scream and then continue to scream. And then they're all standing and then they didn't stop cheering. And we're like, why is this a rock concert in every single show for the whole time? It's been rock concert audiences. And I still kind of don't understand it.
But Gavin, if I can just appreciate what you just shared with us, and this is something that we on ourselves on the Rocks, is that we are so just naked and we just say how it is. The fact that actors do have an ego, and you need that ego, but for you to share that is very intimate. And so thank you for sharing that. It's like, yeah, we want
Thank you.
that
It's
role.
the
And
truth.
but you have made this role your own. And it's not just the yellow jacket, but you are featured in all the
Thank you,
headlines. Is
Andrea.
like the highlight is.
Honey, I'm literally we're both two highlighter pens. We come out, we're like, look at us.
But it's
Thank you, Andrea.
it's the counterpoint to the drama, and then your exiting two lines are without the fanfare of that funny. In fact, so after I saw the show last night, I went to West Hollywood. After every bar we left, I did the I'm leaving, like in
Yes,
happiness.
yes.
But the fact it was such a pointed moment that your very last exit didn't have that, and we saw behind. It was beautifully crafted. Okay, we have to move on. You've been touring with the show. You toured with Fame, Book of Mormon. Fame was your first Broadway type production, your first brush. Over 20 years ago. I don't want to age you.
I'm 47, baby. Proud of it.
Well, honey, I don't know what skincare you are using.
Oh, I literally coated Vaseline on this.
He stays out of the sun.
Yeah. This
I do
young
have to stay out
kid,
of
this
the sun.
young kid on the road. Did you behave on that first tour? What mistakes or obstacles did you overcome in that first national tour? Because you have this young kid. We're going from city to city. I'm with this hot cast. I'm new to the
Don't
business.
shit where you eat.
How many of
Do
your
not
cast did you date?
sleep with your castmates. And I was like such a closeted, sexually frustrated, late bloomer in so many ways. I was still so much in the closet, even though people knew I was gay. I was so not able to like really live my truth. And really, till way later in life. Even now, I'm sort of diving into my own personal exploration of what it means to be a sexual being in middle age and what it means to be alive in the gay community in a way that I sort of avoided for so long because I was afraid. I grew up in
Ohio.
And yes, there are tons of gay people in Findlay, Ohio, but it's at the time I didn't know any, and I didn't know it was. I grew up in Nancy Reagan just saying no, drugs are bad, and if you get AIDS, you're going to die. If you're gay, you're going to get AIDS, and you're going to die. Yeah. That was the message that was pummeled into my brain, and it's still in there. That damage is there, and it's a daily ritual of practice, meditation, and kindness, and to talk to myself and go, you're safe. But when I see what's happening in the news now, I go, keep your guard up. Watch out for yourself. Like, be careful. Because people are out there who want to murder me, and it's 2023. And I go, not today, devil. You will not get me, But I think I grew up. God, I got on a tangent. I can't remember what the original question was. Forgive me. We were talking about
having fun on tour, but also about
like getting into
don't shit where you
shenanigans.
eat.
Yeah,
Let's get back to that.
But a whole part of this interview also is I do want to know about that small town living in Ohio. What that must have been like. And we were talking, it's like, we don't know about your dating life, and somebody that came out very late in life sexually because growing up in Orange County, growing up Catholic. I would love for you to share that if you feel comfortable.
I don't talk about specific stuff about my personal life, but I will say, like, I am awakening to understanding my permission to participate as a gay man in the world in a way that I never have. And I can attribute, without naming them, I have some really great, Kennedy Kanagawa and Jason Forbach are my two besties on this tour. And they have helped me understand myself and just what it is to be an aging gay man. And people say, oh, you look so good and you seem so young. And I'm like, thank you. But the truth is I'm 50 in 3 years. And that's not something I ever imagined being. I didn't think of a life of what is it like to be in my 50s as a gay man, and now I'm like, I have to figure that out.
Your 50-year concert's going to look a lot better than some of the other Broadway 50-year concerts. That's all I have to say.
It's interesting too about how being gay is this journey of always discovery. Like Gavin, to get to young gay people, especially like people like Ben Platt, who say that Gavin was such an inspiration in his journey as an out gay Broadway actor and stuff. People just assume you have it figured out because you did it. And
100%.
It's hair Gavin Creel passed, and it's like, It's very different.
No, Walk On Through is literally the most vulnerable, the most open I've ever been in creatively. And I'm so excited to share. I'm terrified. But it is sort of making art to sort of speak to exactly that, Josh. It's like, and it moves me every time I hear Ben say stuff like that. But I want to name mine. Cheyenne Jackson and John Tartaglia were my two. That I saw them as beautiful, talented men who were out, and they made me realize there are so few at the time who are really speaking their truth in that way and living honestly. And I also have to say, Mark Platt, Ben's dad, who ran Hollywood and Universal Pictures and produced a million movies and still does, and he's a mentor of mine. And he told me in the middle of my beginning of my career, I was sitting at the Four Seasons having a chamomile tea in the lobby where he was staying. He was just in town for a few days, and he said, "Come talk to me." I went through a bad time. I was trying to figure out how I could be authentically myself in the business, and I knew I was gay and I didn't know what to do. And he just said to me, "Look, you got to be honest with who you are first, and then the career comes second. It can be a close second, but if you're not happy with who you are and you can't be honest with who you are, it's going to be a miserable life." And that meant a lot to me, to somebody who was that successful. So in a way, I hope if anybody listens to this or anybody sees me on stage, or I don't post or talk about my personal life on I hate social media, but I have to be on it to tell people about concerts I'm doing and things like that. But I try to keep my personal life out of that because I would like my privacy. I love privacy. I just love being able to play where I want to play without anybody really kind of putting a magnifying glass on it. People choose to do that and they want to talk about that. That's their prerogative. It's fine. I used to be so soapboxy, and I'm like, shut up, Gavin. Just enough. Live your life, live your truth, and let other people live theirs. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad.
There's also the pressure on, and I would consider you an influencer. You are an influencer in the theater world. There's also that pressure that if you are part of LGBTQ, your voice can go to somebody from Ohio that doesn't hear this kind of story, that somebody from my community can actually thrive and survive this kind of, there's that pressure too.
But we talked about before the interview, when you were studying when you began, Thoroughly Modern Millie 2002, people, your job was to do the show, to do the press that the press team set up for you, and maybe 7 to 12 people would stay after the show and greet you at the stage door. Now it's stage door. As soon as the curtain comes down, you're being tweeted at, Instagram tags, like
tagged, everything.
How does
and the questions
completely changes
the questions.
Your job? How does
gay, not gay, gay, not gay, gay? Gavin Creel is a popular Google search. I mean, it just is.
Yay!
No, but I'm saying, like,
well,
how does
but I mean, it's
change with the social interaction, the pressure, especially someone who doesn't enjoy it, but it's now part of the gig and the celebrity of Broadway.
Until you just said it, I didn't think about it. Like, I really have.
Oh, well, thanks, Josh.
I mean it. No, it's okay. No, I don't mean that I didn't think about it as in like, oh God, I'm thinking about it now and now I'm worried. I want to say honestly, there are certain things I just don't look at. Like, people are like, I can't with all the comments. I'm like, don't look at them. I don't read anything. I just don't engage. And then it doesn't have power over me. Now listen. Again, like my ego comment earlier, I'm going to out myself. I engage with things that are not good for me in other ways.
Do you read reviews, Gavin?
No, God, no way.
No. So what are you talking about? Postmates, Uber Eats? That's mine. No. That's my bad interaction.
No, mine would be my sexual exploration of just like, am I looking at too much porn? Am I reading too much? Am I looking at other people's beautiful, sexy lives, and why am I not participating in that way? That's when I just go, like, just calm down. Like just excuse yourself from, don't further shame yourself for the 40 plus years where you didn't have permission to just
That's 100% what you're talking about, is like this sexual guilt that we feel. I came out late. I was engaged to be married to a girl, by the way. Came out late in college. I had this total guilt when I finally started to explore my sexuality. Like I was a bad person, or that I looked up, who are the gay porn stars? Can I watch gay porn? There was this guilt that was all just on me, and it was on not coming from anybody else, and it was so damaging.
But it's such a spectrum.
It's so
too.
damaging.
Yeah. But Gavin, I want to, we have to talk about your career some more, but just real fast, because I think this is a fascinating
No, I love
conversation.
This stuff is, can I just say this stuff?
I
this is
love
stuff
it.
I want to talk about.
I love it.
It's all I ever
This is
want to talk
on the rocks, by the way. You never know what the hell we're going to talk about. It's happy hour.
I
Literally,
love
it's
it.
like, oh, what are we
I'm
talking
here
about?
for it.
So, Gavin, I come from the school. I know it's not been a popular opinion, and I've gotten some hate messages. I don't always need the headline, openly gay, whatever. People say, oh, you have a gay podcast. No, I don't have a gay podcast. We talk to thousands of straight people in entertainment. Gay podcasters. Well, I'm a podcaster, but there's a lot more to me than being gay. Do you also feel that when like the focus is on your sexuality? You're like, did you just not see? I just won a Tony for this performance that had nothing to do with that. I was on stage. I'm an actor.
Can I tell you what I was genuinely nervous about? Hello, Dolly.
Please don't tell me. Yeah. No, of course.
Okay. At the end of the show, I have this stunning, I think it's the reason I won a Tony, if anything, is this monologue that Thornton Wilder wrote. Michael Stewart, I think, rewrote the book. Am I right, Josh? Is that right, Michael Stewart?
I don't know who wrote the book for Dolly.
For the musical. But
that's
that
weird. I don't know
speech
either.
About, isn't the world full of wonderful things? There I was in Yonkers, and I didn't know anything, and now I met this beautiful woman. The woman, there's nothing greater than a woman in the world. And when I read the script, I got really nervous because I knew I was out, and I was worried that people would be like, Gavin. I was genuinely nervous that I wouldn't be able to land that speech. And then David Hyde Pierce was cast opposite Bette Midler, and I thought, what a brilliant casting choice on behalf of our producers and creative team, because it sort of allows us to get past that conversation. Like can we get past it? Yeah. Can we actually see we're playing characters? I'm an actor. So for that specific thing, and that was my favorite part of the show, is getting to walk down the stage and look at the audience and say, how beautiful are women? And honestly, women are my favorite. I think women are the superior sex, but the superior gender sex all across the board. I'm like, I just love being around women and listening to them and the feminine energy and understanding the story that is oftentimes silenced or violenced, against women. And I just love it. So anyway, but then as far as like being labeled as something, I hear you and I hold that. And because I felt that too. But I want to say, I think possibly my cross to bear for this lifetime is to be called an F all the time, or to feel in slight danger or whatever, so that I can then, like, I'll take that heat now. You can call me whatever you want. I know I want my laws and I want my rights, and we may have to start fighting again for those, but like, so that the next generation and the generation after that don't even think about like this.
For that kid in Ohio.
Yes. Yeah. I get a little itchy when young people don't have any time for my trauma. When they're like, you have to come out, or like, I have no time for, I don't like gay shaming and within our community. And I go, I understand why you're impatient or you think everybody should be comfortable, but you need to know that I grew up in 7th grade in health class where people told me if I was gay, I was going to die of AIDS. It's an abomination. You've heard that said, just like it's like a Hallmark card thing. Like, yeah, that way. I lived it. So I need just a little bit of, just like I need grace to the generation of my elders who are gone. There are few friends left, and they're like, we were obliterated. They're never going to be able to get that back. They will die with that pain and that trauma in them. So I understand we need to progress, but I also think a little grace towards, as I age, towards 50 and 60, 70, and if I'm lucky to live a long life, I just want to make sure that we remember to have grace simultaneously. I'm going to get a tattoo that says both. I keep talking about it. I just got to do it on my wrist, but to remind me, both things can be true at the same time, but let's not forget in our effort to change and burn it down. It's just, that's not actually about gay or straight or a Gen Z or when you're 20, you think you know everything. I did, and I was like, have you guys heard of water? It's amazing. You should try it. And you're like, yes, Gavin, we know about water.
It's a mixer. We have it with vodka.
Exactly. Water that down? No way.
Gavin, can I just tell you how beautiful what you just said was probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard.
I also wondered too.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
The authenticity in being yourself as Gavin Creel, the out gay actor, allowed you to be a better Cornelius Hackle, as where I saw you in La Cage and you were not out at the time. And I remember sitting there thinking, I wonder if the son is gay, because there's something about him that feels like he doesn't feel comfortable being the only straight person in this world. I'm like, I wonder if he's gay off stage. And it was like that kind of...
I wasn't out publicly at that time. You're right. My genes alone should have told you I was a raging homosexual. And my skin tight sweater.
I mean, it was a very hot look. Yes.
Thank you, William Ivy Long.
There was like tumblers devoted to your crotch, by the way.
Long hair.
Oh God, bless. Well,
bless.
I'm happy to have those tumblers. But the thing that I really do think at that time, you know, Josh, it's funny. Out Magazine came to me at the time. They wanted to do an article about me, because there's so many articles and celebrations at the time. There still is. We can talk about this too, about straight actors being heralded for being courageous enough to play gay convincingly. I'm like, the convincingly part is just being an actor. If you do your job really well, you want people
That's
to
your
believe
job.
exactly who you are. Yeah,
You're a wolf.
and sometimes I don't
Literally.
succeed. Sometimes it's not as successful, like I was in La Cage. But they wanted to do an article about, it's always about gay people or straight people playing gay. We want to do an article about a gay person playing straight. And I was like, that's not actually an article about my work. That's an article about me being gay, period. And
I have my own issues with Out Magazine. Because it's all sensationalist. It's like, what's going to get clicks? It's like, no. If we're going to support our LGBTQ community, let's talk about the reality. Like the conversation we've had today. Yeah. Let's talk about the reality. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I do think the thing I want to say about Out Magazine, about Advocate, all this stuff, I think a world with it is better than a world without. Just like you said, if somebody sends a flag up every time and says, you have a gay podcast, I know that can grate, but my God, there are so few. In the scheme of things, 99.9% of the stories that are told are straight or straight-leaning, certainly. People think, there's so much gay content. I'm like, line it all up. Line all of the stories that are being told up. It's not that much. And adding to what's being told really well. There's a lot more bad straight stories, but leading to great straight stories. There's a lot less gay stories that can be bad and should be allowed to be bad, leading to maybe a handful of great, well-told, well-filmed, well-written, well-sung. And I stand, I'm going to try to keep writing. It's hard to write. And this first piece is very autobiographical. It is autobiographical. And I'm going to commit to always writing queer stories in the musical theater, because if you really think about it, there's so many gay people behind the table, but they're not putting themselves center. And I think that's because capitalism is poison, and they're ultimately thinking, well, what's producible and what's going to make money and what's going to get produced, because they want their work to, it takes so much energy to put it out there. They want their work to be done and produced and seen and audiences to be moved by it. And it's almost like us eating ourselves. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy of, well, if I don't write something that people will come and see, then I won't be able to make the one that's gay. And I said, well, if we don't start just telling our story from the inside, then we're never going to have the material to lift people up and say, yeah, my story, I hope people come see Walk On Through. And they're like, yeah, he's gay and he talks about a relationship and pain and love and wanting to find love. But this is universal because he's so specifically himself.
So let's dive into this. We have to talk in our final minutes. Yes. We have to talk about Walk On Through. The description is entrancing. And I'm like, what is this? Gavin, what is this?
Okay. I'll try to say it as succinctly as I can.
No, you don't have to. Like, this is your moment.
Okay. I was approached, a friend of mine, Matt Quam, said, hey, I'm working in development at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Would you be interested in coming to meet with Limor Tomer and Aaron Flannery, who run the Met Live Art series? And I was like, I have no idea what that is. It's a curatorial department within the museum where they talk to actors, singers, writers, choreographers, directors, musicians, performance artists, all kinds of performance-based people. And then they say, if they have a good meeting, they say, here's a membership card, go. And when you come up with an idea for a kind of performance, we can present it anywhere in the museum you want. Wow. In a gallery, moving through the museum, in the morning before people get there, at night after people leave, anything. And the truth was, I had never been to the Metropolitan Museum of Art before. And I thought the only thing I can write is the truth to tell I feel like a fraud here. And at the time I had been going through some really terrible, just hard life stuff. And I thought, I have to tell the truth. The only show I can write is about a middle-aged man who's having a bit of a breakdown in the midst of a world that thinks he's got it all together.
Wow.
And in a building where he really doesn't feel like he belongs, which is analogous to the world I was in. Everybody thinks I belong here, and I think I'm great, and my world is fantastic, and I'm a self-adjusted gay man, and I must be doing so great because I have a Tony Award and Olivier Award, and I make a certain amount of money, and I'm white, and I'm a man, and I've got it all. Fuck that guy that doesn't think he has it all. And I was like, I worry that I've got to tell the story, and maybe people don't think I should be able to, but I have to. And I'm really proud of what it's a group of us now, have come up with. And it's going to follow my journey through the Met and the artwork. There's about 30 plus pieces of art that I call towards me as I go through. Where am I? What am I doing? The first lines of the show are, where am I in this place? Who am I meant to be in this world, in this space? Can I find me? That's the thesis. And over about 100 minutes, that's what I'm trying to do, is to figure myself out in a world that thinks I have it all figured out.
So how did the show help you figure out who you are now here?
Josh, in the middle, I wrote a lot of it before, but the majority of it during the pandemic and through this time, it saved my life. I wasn't going to ever harm myself, but I'd never been at a lower point in my life where I was like, I don't know if I can keep going. And what it did for me was allow me the permission to step into my body, my face, my voice, wherever it is, wherever I am, as best I can. And to stop worrying about trying to take care of everybody else and be the happy guy and make sure everyone else is happy first and then address I was raised to think that was selfish, and I'm realizing it's obviously one of the most selfless things you can do is to look out here, try to make yourself okay here, so that then you don't pull from everybody else. I was extrinsically sourcing all of my self-worth. And the show sort of touches on that, of like, I want love. If I get love, it'll make me amazing. If I get success, it'll make me amazing. It's just that thing we hear a million times. It's both. You have to have both, a balance of both. And what it did give me also was a relationship to fine art in a way that I was like, I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know what this is. I feel too stupid, too uneducated, too uncultured, too ADD'd to be able to like spend time in a museum. Museums are still challenging for me, but I know I came up with this theme. If you look, breathe, and wait. Just look at it, give yourself a breath, and just wait. Something will come forth. And that has helped me in my life all around. And that's a theme that goes throughout the show. There's a billion themes that are throughout the show, but dude, I'm just getting up there and telling the truth. That's what I'm trying to do.
It's so funny you say that about art. You know, it can make us feel stupid, but it can also be the most liberating when you just sit and enjoy a piece. I went to Chicago just to see Sunday in the Park, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And I'm like, there's other art. And I was like, no, that's what I came here. And then spending 2 hours, and sometimes you just see something, you just cry. You don't need to comment or be educated about the history of it. You just need to be there. I know we have to wrap up. I need to know, since you've been very open, and I do have to thank you because I know, being personal, you have been very open with us. The show has been very special in a lot of different ways.
It's just been so easy. And again, thank you for having me on. This is wonderful.
No, thank you. I want to talk about mental health. How do you maintain your mental health when you're going from one show to the other, rushing to perform on the Today Show, by the way, keeping up your personal life obligations in check? What is your mental health journey?
I meditate every day. I started when I was going at the beginning of breakup, and I was in a bad place, and I haven't missed a day in 3.5 years. That's a lie. I'm sure I've missed 1 or 2, but I usually try to get it before I go to bed. But I try to meditate in the morning. I do 3 pages. Julia Cameron, I did the Benj Pasek and Shoshana Bean, and I did the Artist Way together in the middle of the pandemic. And
Shoshana Bean, hello. I mean, come on.
They're the best. They're both of them are just 2 unbelievable human beings. But I have kept up with doing morning pages every day, where I write 3 pages longhand, stream of consciousness. and then I do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups every day. And
Well, I was up to you up to a point.
And then you lost us, yeah.
And then
mean,
I
it's
ordered
not-
Panda Express, and that was my workout. That was my
That's all good.
That was my mental
We all
health.
have our thing, but those three things are my biggest. I know if I do those every day, at least I did something for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then just trying to take care of the body that I've been given. And I stopped. Well, I don't want to talk about that. I stopped drinking and eating sugar because it was rough. So I was like, I wasn't, I'm not sober officially, but I really applaud people who have the courage to be able to step away from that when they're having trouble. And that is part of mental health as well.
And I have to tell you, this is a theme. I know the show is called On the Rocks. We drink with celebrities. But for the last year, we've been celebrating sobriety. And I think especially in the LGBTQ community, we're now honoring our sober brothers and sisters and trans
Yes.
community. Because it used to be the fact, if you're sober, you can't come to party. You can definitely come to party. And people are now sharing where other people are like, I should lead a sober life. It's becoming more accepted. And I'm very happy. I'm very happy with that.
Me too.
Not like you said, like you're 100% sober, but like,
I also think that people who went to drinking in the process of trying to come out and understand themselves, it was an escape. It was a balm. It was a way to, I'm uncomfortable in this room. It's a social lubricant. But we ran to it not sometimes in a healthy way because we were afraid. We needed an escape. We didn't feel welcome. We were uncomfortable. I think what's beautiful about being sober in a social space like that, we're still uncomfortable. I'm still go to gay bars and I'm like, ooh, a drink would be really great right now. But if I can get past that and breathe through it, and my sober LGBTQIA plus people, I say to you, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Don't stay away because you don't think it's tolerable without the stuff, or you don't think you're welcome. My gosh.
And also challenge your friends. But my best friend of 8.5 years is like, hey, maybe you don't need to have a drink tonight. I'm like, okay. And we have the time of our lives.
To pivot really hard because we're
Pivot.
about
You have to say it like that, though.
Pivot.
Pivot.
Alexander is a huge fan of Bet and the Divine Miss M. Can you just tell us one of your favorite Bet stories from your
Or one of your
time
unfavorite.
whichever from your time in Dolly?
Girl. I'm not.
I will tell you, we were in the last week of when she came back after the
Yep.
the Bernadette was in for 6 months, which was another mind-blowing moment.
My God.
But Bet came back for the last 6 weeks to finish up. And she came up to me like in the last week to sort out a bit that she didn't think was working.
But I love
And
that.
I was like, wow, babe, let it go.
You're like, we
It's
both won
over.
Tonys for this already.
We're going home. It's done. You did it. You just made like millions and millions of dollars for the community. You employed all of these people. You gave so much joy. Let it go. But of course, I was like, okay, let's try it. And we tried it, and it bombed. In the moment where she peeks her head in and wags her butt while the curtain, she put her head in and she goes, it tanked. Go back to the other way. I was wrong. And then she...
Oh my God. Well, that's Bet. I mean, I'm a fan of Bet's early stuff from the 70s and her live shows. Like, that's the Bet that I love. How mind-blowing. Not only you get to walk with Sondheim from hotel to theater, and then you get to share the stage and backstage with
But I got to tell you, the common theme between them, David Patrick Kelly, yes, all these people are in their 70s, 80s, 90s. The way they came to art was through craft. She is the most hardworking, and if it's not in the script, she's not doing it. She's not she looks like she's just up there goofing around. The most studied, read the script every day before the show, twice on 2 show days. I go in and she's there with her tattered script, looking it over. The source of what you're doing in front of people is from the material, the playwright, the music. That's the source. And I will say, challenge gently, I worry sometimes that our source is TikTok videos or YouTube videos or being fabulous and wailing.
We've talked about this so much on this show. I do not appreciate it.
There's value to all of it, but I am a person who, when I teach, I love teaching more than anything. And when I perform, you asked about how do I approach roles. I approach it from the text and from the music, not from like, I want to be fierce on stage. Because the minute I try that and I tank, I have nothing to fall back on. Oh. And Bet always had the text and the studying, trying to figure out, and her bits weren't about like, we want to make them laugh. It was about, I think in this moment, this will make them laugh if we really go for this. And that's where I want to make sure that as I age and start to direct or produce or write and everything, that it comes back to that. It's not about being seen or being popular or being faux celebrity or celebrity. It's not about getting likes or followers, because that's about fast, sugary moments. If it's rooted in, I want to create this YouTube channel that is doing this, that, and the other. It can literally be, we're going to be these people who set our hair on fire, and then at the end of it, we do whatever it ends up being. But I think the value for me is if it's rooted in art and story and connection, rather than the outside of it, being seen, being fabulous, being heard.
And maybe that will counteract some of the rumors of like backstage, Bet didn't have time to take pictures with fans or whatever. It's because she was focused on the role. And one of her harlots said the same thing about her live. When we listened to her live shows, we're like, she sounds like she's just off the cuff and she's a master of it. No, it was crafted.
Studied.
Before you just said about, as you move, obviously you wrote this show. There's so much in the industry to do, direct, produce. Do you think there'll be a time where we don't see Gavin Creel on stage, or you think you'll always do both?
No, I don't. I mean, I the stress, the beat, it's my body's hurting in a way. I had 2 knee surgeries, a back surgery, sprained ankle, vocal, issues. It's so much stress, and I want to, as I get older, I want to enjoy. I really think that if we get the luxury and the privilege of living a long life, I also think it should be our gentle right to seek what makes it easier and fun, because if we can live an easier and more fun life, it will help us counteract. If we live long, we're going to lose people, and we're going to have so much more grief and pain. So I don't want to add pain and grief in my work life and then have to lose friends and loved ones, relatives, partners, and then have pain there. Because if we live long, the privilege of living long is to balance out. We're going to have a lot of sadness, and I want to enjoy as much as I can. Oh, did you go away? Did I lose you?
No, we're here. You're going to be like the Anne Ranking, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That like Maria Friedman, Anne Ranking, star who's
maybe.
Gavin,
I'm sure I'll sing, but
we have 2 more pages of questions about your career.
Oh, this was the best day ever. Thank you.
But like honestly, thank you for being so intimate with us.
Thank you for having me and providing a space where I could be that. If you were dick bags, I wouldn't have said anything like this.
Dick bags? I haven't been called a dick bag since, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, you did the joke before me. Gavin, where can everybody find and follow you? GavinCreel.com. Kayla Kuzbel, bless her, Josh.
Yes, Kayla.
Is the one who keeps me honest and does the stuff that I don't ever want to do and put stuff on there. I'm on it's real Gavin Creel on Instagram, and I don't post often, but I'll let you know when I'm doing shows, and also Walk On Through musical.
Yes.
On Instagram, and walkonthrough.com. Go to walkonthrough.com. We're constantly trying to add more stuff, and this fall, July 24th at Hotel Cafe, I think 7:00 is about, if not sold out, but I think we're gonna add another show. So just keep calling them and asking.
I think we bought the last ticket. So I bought my ticket already, and then I was sitting next to 2 random people at the show last night, and they bought their tickets this morning. They probably sold it out because there was nothing left.
I'm not sure we were pretty close. But also this fall at MCC in New York, starting in November, it's going to be a world premiere of this musical, and I hope everyone will come see it and help us take it to Broadway and around the world.
Gavin, thank you. I know you have another interview you have to rush to, and then you have a show tonight.
Yes, oh gosh, that, right.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure.
Oh my God. That was our interview with Gavin Creel. That was so different than I thought it was. I thought we were talking about like Broadway and all that. That was very special.
Right? It was wonderful. Thank you, Gavin, for being so open and for telling us a story that we even heard from him before.
Yeah. Cool. What was your biggest takeaway from that?
I think it was interesting about the journey as a gay man, especially because as far as out Broadway actors go, Gavin Creel's name is on the top of the list. He's a true star that can play a heterosexual lead and win.
We're waiting for Hugh Jackman to join it. Yeah.
And so, to hear him be like, I'm still figuring out love, sexuality.
I loved him talking about that.
Being secure in it all. Like at that journey, then it's really amazing.
But you
don't
also
have to have it all figured out. Right.
But you made a good point that it's a journey. Some people come out as gay and then they come out as trans or a non-binary or a pansexual. There's not an end to your journey, and there's not an end to labels. That's why I hate labels so much.
And the trauma for elder millennials and younger Gen X of growing up post AIDS epidemic and having the idea, like as Gavin was saying, that when you have sex, there's a chance you're going to die. And like that's how we were all grew up thinking of our own sexuality and our bodies and such. And it's going to take time to shake that. It just doesn't happen. And he's showing us that he's still shaking it after 20, almost 20 years after coming out. Still.
So when I was in school, the first thing about AIDS was Ryan White. You guys are probably too young to remember that.
The Judith White movie. Right?
Well, Ryan White was that young kid that got and so it was like, oh, the gays killed him. That's all I heard. I got no more scientific information. That's what I was raised as. It's awful.
But now it feels like politically, in the last year, I feel like our community is being villainized in a way that we haven't since a pre-Will and Grace era. And so these kids are going to grow up again being like, gays and drag queens are groomers, and this is what's happening. And like
I've never met a drag queen that wants to spend time with a kid, by the way.
No.
I don't want to spend time with a kid. When people are like, here's my kid.
I don't even want to go to restaurants where families are going to be.
TGI Fridays? No, thank you.
No.
Josh, what a pleasure
Thank you
to have you here. You have such great insight. And you get to see the stars in a different way because you're taking their social media pics, or you had been, and you've been like seeing them behind the scenes. Is there like a nightmare story you want to share?
No. No. I think that it's interesting to see.
I love how Broadway is more quiet than Hollywood. We've had Hollywood people like, Tommy Lee Jones had the worst breath ever.
And then
you're like,
so big. Broadway
everybody was great.
Broadway is even smaller than porn. It's so tiny that you're like,
you can't spill the tea at all about anything.
I think two people that I absolutely love as actors were so freaking shady. Were the shadiest to me ever. I'd interviewed hundreds of Broadway people. My day, I would go to press events, I go to red carpets, I'd interview them for different things. Two of these legends, Tony winners, were so rude. And I'm like, if Patty and Bernadette could be nice, then Nathan and Lilith from Frasier could be nice. BB, that's her real name.
Well, she can't hit the notes anymore, so who cares?
But, it is what it is. But Broadway
I've never been a fan of BB Newirth. I don't know. I never understood what the people.
I like her
anyway.
as Lola and Guys and Dolls.
Cute. Josh, where can people find and follow you?
I'm so bad at my own handles. At Josh Ferri.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah. Instagram's the only platform I use. Are you on Threads? Are you going to do it?
We had this conversation. I'm going to sign up tomorrow. I haven't had time to set it up. Why not?
Yeah.
I hate Twitter.
I mean, isn't it by Facebook and Instagram? So isn't it going to be policed for community standards all the time?
I can't even program my VCR. Whenever I say that, everyone's like, we haven't had VCRs in years. I'm like, that's how technology, awful. I had to go when I upgrade my phone, and I always have the most, the latest or whatever. I just I give it to some young kid. I'm like, $100, just make it work. I can't. I'm so bad at technology. I know it sounds bad. What an amazing episode.
Yeah,
that was not the episode I thought we were going to have at all.
Not that was going to be
we were acting
around his
and
resume.
Yeah.
We got so deep with someone who literally just told us how much he guards his personal life, and yet he shared a lot.
And between us, we almost finished a bottle of
Well, yeah.
Anyway, that's the show, folks. It's a grab bag of fun here every week on The Rocks. A big thank you to our engineer, Tony Sweet, our social media clip editor, my mom's name is still here. My social media clip, Alexis Mendez. Coming up, we have drag races. Alexis Michelle.
Love her. And talk about Broadway, girl. Hey.
Yeah, she sings Broadway. She's here to defend her edits. We also have Armando and Kenny from TLC's 90 Day Fiancé. They're back on the show. Please like, share, subscribe so we can continue bringing this fabulous show to you for free. Until next time, you know the drill. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. And if you drink, stay tipsy.
Cheers.
Ta-ta. Love you, Mom.
This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.